You want it? We have it. The hottest mortgage and real estate strategy broadcast in the nation. A Smarter Way Home with your host, Danielle Boote and Victor Bals. 50 years combined experience, ranked in the top 1% in the nation for home loan originations 2020. Promise to expand your knowledge, utilizing creative mortgage financing and home buying strategies. Build a bridge for a better quality of life. Get your brain cells firing for a smarter way home. And welcome to another episode of A Smarter Way Home. We've got modern mortgage and home buying solutions for both real estate professionals and consumers alike. My name is Victor Bals, a loan officer for over 20 years, and I eat this stuff for breakfast. But I'd like to introduce my guest, my hostess with the mostest, Mrs. Danielle Boote.
Good morning, Victor. How are you?
I am pretty good here in Detroit, and it's a fall day, but it's going to be about 70 degrees, and I understand you just flew in from St. Louis, and boy, are your arms tired.
Yes, so I did. I got to spend 2 days at our corporate office in a manager meeting. It was super, super cool. Oh, got to go to a Cardinals game.
Oh, really? Are you a Cardinals fan?
No, I'm a Cubs fan.
You're a
and
Cubs
apparently, my mother let me know that the Cardinals are one of the Cubs' arch rival teams.
Oh.
Now, the Cardinals have 11 World Series trophies. Mm-hmm. The Cubs, not so many. So I'm still a Cubs fan, but it was honestly an electric experience to be at that game because they had two of their best all-time players retire.
Oh, really?
So that was kind of cool. Yeah.
That's cool. Did you get to have some adult beverages while you were at the game?
We might have had some adult beverages.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. How much is an adult beverage at a ball game now?
I don't know because I didn't pay for them.
Well, those are the best ones.
But I know the hotel we were at, they were about $15 a piece.
Oh, my God.
I know. Yeah. It was like, whoa.
Wow. So what are we talking about today, Danielle?
Well, we are going to talk a little bit about current market conditions, interest rates, and how motivated buyers need to kind of think about some creative financing options to save them money in the short term. So we are going to talk about a program that has been around for many, many years, but honestly, we haven't used it in about 20 years, and is a program called a 2-1 BuyDown.
Yes, what old is new again.
Yes, so we are dusting some of these old programs off because of where interest rates are going. So on a nationwide basis, 30-year interest rates right now, can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure, we sure
They
can.
are in the high 6% to low 7% range. We are at a 20-year high due to inflation, the unstable financial markets and the uncertainty of what the Treasury and the Federal Reserve is really going to do by keep raising short-term rates and how that impacts long-term rates. There's a lot going on globally that is impacting everybody's markets.
Yep, and what we're seeing is home buyers, because of the uncertainty, affordability seems to be going out the window with these higher rates, and that's where this 2-1 BuyDown could actually play a key in obtaining home ownership, a key to starting to gain appreciation and gain tax benefits, and many other things.
I guess another comment here is that there are still, we've talked on our podcast all year about the millennials and how big that generation is, and their desire to become homeowners is very strong. So unlike other downturns, we're expecting to slide into a recession by early next year. We could be in the early stages of it right now, and the government is not calling it until they start to see inflation temper a bit. But the demand is there for housing. These buyers know what their budget is. Rental rates are going up, and there will still be more millennials between the ages of 31 and 33 next year than there were today. And because of the housing shortage, not everybody that wanted to buy a house this year probably bought a house. We still have clients from 6, 9, 12 months ago that are still looking. And now what they're dealing with is continued increase in prices and increased in interest rates.
Right. One of the good things about the 2-1 BuyDown, unfortunately, interest rates are going up, but we have to look at the positive things of that, because
Right.
as interest rates continue to rise, it takes many people out of the home buying market. However, if we are creative, and we can actually use this to their advantage, because many people are backing down and saying, I'm not going to buy now.
Or they're just going to stand on the sidelines and watch and see what happens.
Right, but with this tool, we can help that home buyer get into a home now and have them ease into payments. So with that, in today's broadcast, generally we're podcasts, that's for listeners, but if you switch over for a Smarter Way Home and you go to the YouTube channel, you're actually going to see some of these slides here, because we think it is very important to get a visual aspect of this here. So today we're going to talk about the art of the 2-1 buy down, and that's slide 1. As we go to slide 2, what is a 2-1 buy down? It is a type of financing that lowers the borrower's interest rate on a mortgage for the first 2 years before it rises to the current locked interest rate or current market's interest rate. As we go over to the next slide, the start rate on a 2-1 buy down is 2% lower than the locked rate of current market rates today for the first 12 months. And then the rate will increase 1% higher in the second 12 months. Now, and the next slide here, sellers, including home builders, may offer a 2-1 buy down to make a property more attractive to buyers. Next slide, Danielle.
To make up the interest that the lender will not receive in those first 2 years, the sellers or a builder can prepay that fee up front at closing.
Next slide here. Now, this temporary buy down fee may be in the form of either mortgage discount points and or a lump sum. These funds will be deposited to an escrow account with the lender servicer at closing and will be used to subsidize the buyer's reduced monthly payments. So let's put this in the perspective. So at the seller is going to pay down this buy down fee. Okay. And I crunched the numbers and it comes out to about 2.25%, 2.5% of the purchase price. Okay. And it's been very common where we would see seller concessions. So it's treated somewhat like a seller concession, but we're going to go over the verbiage that has to be on the purchase contract. So what happens is this seller pays this at closing, and those funds are deposited into an escrow account. And just follow along here, because this is all going to make sense here. Go ahead, Danielle.
The sellers and the home builder can offer a 2-1 buy down as an incentive for potential purchasers. This strategy yields a more powerful tool for a borrower than a price reduction.
And as we move on here, now we're going to take just a sample of how this thing works. So if we took a typical $400,000 purchase at the current market rate, and for today, we're just going to use the rate 7%. And don't worry about rates, because the dynamics and the thought process works the same regardless. But for 7%, we're just going to use 7% for simplicity here. So a purchaser wants to buy a home with 5% down at current market rates at 7%. They're going to have a $380,000 loan. And we calculated those numbers that this particular buy down cost to the sellers would be about $8,857. And that's about 2.215% of the purchase price. Okay. Now, let's just say that seller was asking the $400,000 for that price. And a traditional thinking of a buyer may say, you know what, I need to lower my payment. I'm not going to ask for the 2-1 buy down cost. I'm just going to offer $8,800 less for that house. So basically, they're offering that home seller $391,000 and some change. Okay, so now the buyer offered this $8,800 less than $400K, or about $391,000. And if we were to have that as a payment at 7%, the principal and interest on that payment alone would be about $2,472. Now, here's the funny thing here. Because that buyer decided not to do a 2-1 buy down, and they wanted a price reduction of this $8,857 at 7%, he's decreasing his payment by about $59 a month.
Which that is a rule of thumb we have always followed based on the interest rate. So I always tell my clients, $10,000 is maybe $60 a month difference right now, which is not significant in the overall purchase of a home.
Absolutely. And $59 on a $400,000 purchase in a rising rate environment, $59 may not make our borrower feel comfortable about moving forward. There's still higher rates there. So as we're moving along here, so now if we use that buy down strategy, we do not have to lower the sales price down at 2.25% or $8,800. But what we would do is negotiate a 2-1 buy down instead of that price reduction. Now, and if we go in and we say, Mr. Seller, we'll give you $400,000 for the property, but we want you to contribute towards the buy down of $8,857. It's going to be the same as that reduced price offer of $391,000. Okay?
So with this, we make it a much more attractive situation and affordable for the buyer, and we make the home more marketable in potentially a volatile market.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's less buyers in the market. Sellers have become accustomed to the last couple of years putting their house on the market. It's selling very quickly and getting multiple offers. Now, we're still seeing, in some cases with well-priced homes, multiple offers. But we're also seeing a little bit of a slowdown. And in some cases, if the house was overlisted, we'll see some price reductions.
Absolutely. So let's just go back and remember. So we were going to do a price reduction, have a loan amount or a sale price of $391,143. And that principal and interest payment at 7% was going to be $2,472. But now, here's where the nuts and bolts come in on the buy down. Because if we did a buy down at $400,000 with 5% down, $380,000 loan at 7% interest rate, our principal and interest would now be $2,528 because we're not doing a price reduction. So our payment actually goes up $59. But now in year one, because we have executed the 2-1 buy down, that first year interest rate goes from 7% down to 5%, a 2% price reduction. And now that principal and interest payment is $2,039. It saves our buyer $488 a month, or 19% on that monthly payment is reduced for the first 12 months.
And that is significant.
That is significant.
Way better than $59.
Right. That's a hell of a lot better than $59. So now as we walk into the second 12 months, year two, the rate will increase from 5% to 6%. The payment goes up to $2,278, which is still a $249 savings per month, or a 9.8% payment reduction. And then in year three, it will revert back to the full $2,528 at that 7% locked rate. And now, so here was one of the things I was talking about. Well, what happens if I can't afford that? Well, the one thing is we will qualify that buyer at that fully indexed rate of 7%.
Correct.
And then I want to talk about people, what happens over the 3 years. And when I looked at Livingston County, I believe the median income is somewhere around $85,000 a year, okay? And we look at the average person getting a raise of a mere 3% a year. That first year, they're going to get a raise of about $224. That second year, another $230. And in that third year, about $235. So in 3 years, they should be making about $600 more a month, which can totally cover that $488 that's being subsidized. So when we start to think it in that perspective, this allows a buyer to get in now and avoid the cost of waiting, because appreciation is still going to climb.
Right. Or what is going to happen in the spring market? If we have a quiet or slower winter with limited inventory, we could see an explosive market next spring if rates come down a bit. And there's still all these buyers that step to the sideline that are going to jump back in the last 2 spring cycles. That's exactly what we've seen because of the lack of inventory and the amount of buyers in the market.
And I don't care what market it is. In the springtime, it's spring buying season, and whether rates are up or rates are down. So now let's walk into a little bit and explain what happens here. So now, because we executed this move and we're going to do the buy down, or we could do the buy down and save this particular borrower $488 a month. If the borrower does not understand a 2-1 buy down, he may not be comfortable with that higher payment of $2,500, but if we had a payment that's $488 less, he would be comfortable.
Right.
And when we convert that $488 payment at 7%, if that buyer was comfortable with that payment, he would have to go find not a $400,000 home, but about a $325,000 home in today's market, or he would have to have that seller reduce the price of that $400,000 home by $73,350. And what is the likelihood of that?
Yeah, not much.
Not much at all.
Because there's still going to be other buyers that are going to be willing to pay $400,000 to the seller.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. But by understanding the strategy, we can ease our clients into those payments. So people ask, how is a buy down calculated? So let's go over this. It is a subsidy. Everybody's heard of down payment assistance. Mm-hmm. We want to consider this like payment assistance because that's what it is. And when we have that monthly savings of $488. Remember, that money is being held in this escrow account. That $8,800 is being held in an escrow account. And when we save $488 in that a month in that first year, that first month savings times 12 months actually comes out to about $5,856. And we will look in year 2 that you're saving $249, and we multiply that by 12 months. That's about $2,998, and that equates to that $8,857 that the seller is going to pay. Mm-hmm. So that's held in escrow.
Correct.
So what's going to happen is that buyer in the first year is going to make that $2,039 payment, and the servicer is going to pull from that escrow account the remaining $488 a month because that investor wants to fully index 7% payment. So there's no freebies here. It's just how we are moving the money around. Mm-hmm. Oh, and here's the good news here too, because what happens if the buyer goes ahead and executes a 2-1 buy down, and let's say rates go up in the spring. Doesn't matter. He's safe for 2 years. But let's say after 2 years, if rates go up, he's going to stay where he's at 7% for the remaining 28 years. And if rates go down, now we can put him in a refinance position. Furthermore, let's say we execute a 2-1 buy down now, and we close, and within the first 24 months, while these are lower rates, you decide to refinance because rates are lower, or decide to move. What happens is all that money remaining in that escrow account is credited back to our borrower. So
the money's not lost.
The money is not lost. It goes to you, the borrower here. So as we move on here, let's just go to the next slide here. So I think these are conversations that real estate agents need to have with their buyers, their sellers, and they need to have with their lenders, because I'm hearing agents having conversations with their sellers is, why is my home not selling right now? Why am I not getting multiple offers like I got in the spring where there's 15 offers and now they may get 3 or maybe none? I was talking to an agent. They had an open house. They didn't get one showing.
Wow.
One showing over the weekend there. And rates are going up. Are buyers scared? Yes, they are scared, know. And sellers often say, how much do I have to reduce my price to attract buyers? And the last question we're getting is, why do the comparables support my sales, but I'm getting no offers?
I mean, there's a lot of seasonality to real estate. Mm-hmm. And if you're a buyer or you're a seller, you need to understand that this is typical in anywhere in the country.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. And, in some of the questions, I was talking to agents, and they're getting some of these questions from the buyers are, rates are high and payments are becoming unaffordable. So now as we can educate our agents to have these conversations with their buyers and give them an option to ease into that payment there. This strategy is also going to allow, like I said, allow buyers to ease into those payments in year 1 and year 2. It allows our buyers to buy now and take advantage of appreciation, because appreciation still goes up. And on that $400,000 home, Livingston County has experienced double-digit appreciation. But if we went just with a conservative 5% appreciation on a $400,000 home, that home's going to cost $20,000 next year, more, and another 20-something thousand the following year.
Right.
So we're allowed to take
and
buy now.
One of the things from a buyer's perspective is, for the buyers that are thinking, well, maybe I'll wait until rates come down next year. The problem is you're not the only one that thinks that way. And anytime we have seen a dip in interest rates, it causes such a dramatic increase in buyer activity that then we'll be back to multiple offers, houses selling for way more than asking price, which cripples a lot of first-time home buyers.
Yeah, or ones that don't have large down payments and all that stuff. And this goes back to what you've always preached, is marry the home and date the loan.
Right.
We've talked several times, because we want to marry that home and treat that home like a 401k, like an investment, right? And we all know with our investments that at time we have to rebalance our portfolios so we can use future market environments, if they get better or even if they get worse, to meet a client's objective to rebalance. Right. Oh, rates are down. Let's rebalance. Let's refinance. Let's go to a shorter term, or possibly, hey, appreciation has went up. I've had some financial troubles. Let's use that home to extract equity to take care of another objective, thus rebalancing our portfolio, meaning our mortgage.
And another strategy, let's look at kind of an old school thought process. Somebody might say, your parents or grandparents might say, if you're a first-time home buyer, well, don't buy a $400,000 house if you can't afford it. Buy it $325,000, right? But
in this case, the payment would be the same.
Correct. But think of it this way. How many times have we done a mortgage for somebody that was thinking very conservatively, young first-time home buyers, and I get a call 3 years later, and they go, well, guess what? Had 3 children in 3 years.
Now we got upsize.
I had this happen last week. A client called, and they had a baby. They have a 3-year-old, and then they had twins. So their house is nice, and they bought when rates were low, but guess what? Their life structure has changed. Yep. So as easy it might be for somebody to say, well, don't buy a $400,000 house if you can't afford it. If that ultimately is what your family needs, it could be a better long-term investment to buy the house that you don't have to sell in 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely.
My own daughter did that earlier this year. They decided to jump into their second home while rates were low. I absolutely encouraged it, and I told them, don't stretch more than you can afford, but stretch as much as you can, because they will live in this house 20 to 25 years. I don't see them moving. They got a house better than they could have frankly ever imagined when they started, life together 5 years ago. And I'm very proud of them for that. And she sees the benefits, but you have to be careful there. Don't undersize. If you're downsizing and a 2-bedroom works, that's great. But if you're a first-time home buyer and that isn't going to fit your long-term objective, it's expensive to sell a house. It's expensive to move. And who the heck knows what market conditions are going to be in 3 to 5 years?
And it's funny because you talk about affordability and stretching yourself. And in many cases, people want to put heavier or bigger down payments down, thinking that's going to drop their payment. And that rule of thumb, for every $5,000 more you put down, you're only going to drop your payment $30 a month, where you may have a credit card of $5,000 and your minimum payment's $140 a month. Right. So is it smarter to give us $5,000 to drop your cash outflow per month by $30, or pay off that credit card and free up $140 in cash outflow?
And I don't know what you see with your pool of buyers, and I'm not saying that everybody has money, but I am seeing young adults in their 20s that can have considerable savings. more than I have ever seen in my entire career. I have seen young people that have $50,000 to $100,000 saved. They're dual working families, typically with no kids yet.
Maybe living in mom's basement from the pandemic and just saving money.
Yeah, no, most of the people that I've seen it both ways. I had a young couple just about a year ago buy their first condo, and they both lived at home with their parents until they got married. But they saved everything that they made to for their future together. And I've seen other young couples that, they're on their own, renting in an inexpensive area so that they can maximize their savings. And even with those buyers, we have the discussion of whether it makes sense to put 20% down. Yep. Some of these buyers I've discussed, hey, do 10 or 15 and retain your savings so that you're not taking,
Yeah, we got the emergency fund post-closing.
Correct. Because they have no other debt as well.
Well, and we know the definition of owning a home is no matter where you sit, you could look at something you should be paying for because there's always an improvement.
Correct.
There's always something. So I suggest keep some money in that emergency account.
Then have fun. Buy a couch. Get a lawnmower.
Yeah, enjoy
some
it.
Paint.
Enjoy it for the first year. And then if you got a stack of money there you just want to get rid of, send it to the lender. Right. I guarantee they're going to take the money.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
and when it goes back to what is the interest rate on rent?
Yeah.
100%. Because you're paying somebody else's mortgage. And somebody else is just sitting on it, earning appreciation.
Absolutely.
I mean, and when you look at investors, whether it's a private investor that owns a rental property, they typically don't make a huge rate of return. They're in it for the long haul. And if you have not been in the rental market for many years, maybe you're a parent that has young adult children and that are thinking about buying and listening to this. You have no idea what rents are jumping to. What used to be $1,000 in Livingston County is probably now $1,400 to $1,800 a month, even in Livingston County. And you look at that and go, why would somebody pay $1,800 a month rent if they're established and they're staying in the area?
Here's a thing about investments. I don't know the stats, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think about 17% of all sales are for investment properties or second homes.
Yeah, I just heard from a realtor last week that listed a 10-unit apartment building in South Lyon. And he didn't know how this would go because he normally doesn't. It's a unique type of a property. He had multiple offers, including sight unseen, and it ended up selling for $100,000 over asking, and cash. I'm sorry, I don't think, no. He had cash offers. I think the one they accepted was financed, but they guaranteed the appraisal. There was no questions. The whole thing, they basically said, we just want to finance this for investment purposes. So you look at it and go, if the investors and bigger companies are buying
in a high interest rate environment,
right? They know that with inflation, this is not going down anytime soon. We're still going to have a housing shortage. And if you look at our national statistics, even during times of recession, with the exception of 2008, property values always continue to increase.
Absolutely. That's a really good analogy. If 16, 18% are investors buying homes in a high rate environment, are they that stupid? No, there's some research behind that.
Correct.
They know what they're doing. They know where rents are going. They know about the low inventories.
Well, I have a realtor investor that buys homes on a regular basis. Sometimes they fix them and flip them, and sometimes they buy and hold. And some investors, their strategy is going to areas. For instance, they might not be buying in Livingston County right now, but they're going to other areas and other parts of the state where home prices might be more affordable, but they probably have a higher rental percentage in that area. And again, if there's not housing, everybody needs a place to live, whether you need to rent, whether you need to buy. And keep in mind that there are people that are buying or renting for short-term situations. Maybe they've sold their house and are not buying yet. Okay, I have clients that have done that because they're going to retire out of state in a couple years, but they're not there yet. They decided to take advantage of the market. That's a short-term rental situation, but that's a quality renter that is going to pay their bills. I know other people, for instance, I have friends that just sold their lake home because they're pre-retirement and they bought a massive fixer-upper, like a complete gut job. So they're renting, they're established homeowners that are renting while they take 6 to 9 months to rehab their new home. Right. So that when you look at rental pressures and go, well, why are there so many rentals? There's a lot of different reasons why people rent. And it doesn't mean they're all young people that, are just starting out on their own.
Wow. And this just goes to show that in this higher rate environment, are there options for buyers to enter the market, get into the game, and take advantage of some very cool products out there? Now,
Yes.
we talked about the 2-1 BuyDown. There is also the 3-2-1 BuyDown. And so this is a 3-year program, and it costs a little bit more, and your lender should be able to calculate that number and just...
It works the same as the 2-1 BuyDown.
But if we had a start rate of 7% today, that first 12 months would be at an interest rate of 4%. The next year go to 5%. The next year go to 6%. And then ultimately it will go to the fully indexed rate of 7%
Right.
or whatever rate you lock in.
And there
today.
are also, one of the questions we get from time to time is adjustable rate mortgages. They are available, but they're not quite as attractive as the buy down strategy as far as short-term savings. Now, also keep in mind, if you are thinking about buying your first house, even if we're in the 7% range, which is painful because of where we were in January and February, rates have doubled since the beginning of the year,
Yep.
but we are still below the national average for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, which historically is 8.5%. And we've talked about this. I bought my first house about 30 years ago for 10.5%. And my husband and I didn't think twice about it. He was paying rent. I was paying rent. And we jumped headfirst into the market and, have never looked back. So you have to look at where you are.
And how many
life.
homes and mortgages have you had in that last 30 years?
Oh my goodness. We've only lived in 3 homes, but we've owned probably 6 or 7. And mortgages, I couldn't even count because...
Right. So you use that mortgage as a tool
Correct.
in a particular environment to meet a particular objective.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct. And, we've done a lot of things over the years. Like we've done big renovations and, all of that stuff. So, we've always improved where the situation was. So we didn't stay at 10.5 for very long. We refinanced a couple years later, got down to 7.5, and then it was 8 something. Our second mortgage was 8 something. Then when we moved to Pinckney, I think we were at 7.5, which we thought was great. So it's a matter of perception. And if you look back at the last 2 years, none of that was normal.
That was all pandemic driven, basically.
Correct. Correct.
It's kind of funny. So, hey, I just want to switch to the last topic, Hurricane Ian and Florida.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen to lumber prices? Where's all our winter labor, our carpenters, our roofers? Are they all going to migrate down to Florida here? Are we going to see some work shortages?
I actually just spoke to a realtor in Florida last night. And she lives in, I think, Port Charlotte area, which is just north of Cape Coral. And literally the eye of the storm went over her house. This is absolutely catastrophic.
Yes.
There has probably been no greater property loss and damage than Hurricane Ian. So absolutely. This is, in fact, she even said, she goes, and Florida's been on fire. The real estate market is absolutely insane down there. And she said, well, here's the issue. She goes, are the builders going to keep building new homes, or are they going to switch to start rehabbing the ones that are damaged? And, the interesting dynamic about Southwest Florida, and although Ian hit 4 states, so it's not just Florida. It went clear across Florida. The major concentration of damage is in, of course, the Fort Myers and Cape Coral area. They still don't have power. But yes, we've had building supply shortages for several years, so this is not going to help. And, for instance, everything is shut down there right now. So they don't even know when the building departments are going to open again. I mean,
so the real estate market is basically dead down there right now.
Not yes and no.
Okay.
So it'll what she expected, and she's been in Florida for a long time. She said she expects it to kind of quiet down, but for instance, there are people down there that maybe their houses were totaled that are going to cash out with their insurance company and probably buy. They're not going to rebuild because they can't afford to. So they'll end up dozing the house, selling a vacant lot, and buying an existing home. So she said even after hurricanes like this, everybody there's a pause. They have to assess the situation,
Right.
what was damaged, what was not. She said that she had 6 clients that were going to list their homes in the next 2 to 4 weeks. All of them have damage. So those homes will not be going on the market until they get repaired. So it could cause like a whip effect, a little bit of a slowdown, and then things will go crazy because they're looking for homes now that weren't damaged.
Right.
Which is going to impact the rest of the country.
Well, but now there's going to be a shortage of inventory, which is going to drive prices up.
Right. or could you see, there's always going to be some people that maybe aging. There's an aging population, of course, in Florida because people retire down there. So you could see people that have been in Florida for 25 or 30 years that maybe they move back to Michigan to be closer to their family because they can't if somebody's in their 80s, they might not be able to handle living down there and getting through that type of extreme weather as they're aging, unfortunately. So that could cause people to migrate from down south back up north. You just don't know. We do see that. We've seen that a lot in the last few years.
Wow. Very interesting, and I wish them the best down there. But so we're going to wrap it up with today's show here. But the 2-1 BuyDown or BuyDown in general is a great, wonderful tool. You owe it to yourself to give us a call or call your lender, get more details, and make sure you're having this conversation.
Look at all options.
Yeah.
If you are serious about buying a home, don't give up.
This will get you in the game. Mm-hmm. Absolutely get you in the game here. And a matter of fact, yesterday I was telling you that we got an accepted offer. We put in an offer, and I don't remember the price. Put in an offer contingent on this buyer selling his current home, and we asked for the 2-1 BuyDown, and we got an accepted offer. And I thought, wow.
Yeah,
that was easy.
Yes, yeah.
I hit the easy button on that one.
And you've got a very happy buyer and a happy seller.
Yeah, life is good. So, okay. Well, Danielle, any closing words for our listeners? Okay.
Have a great day, everybody. Give us a call if you're looking for any creative options.
Yep. And my name is Victor Bals. That was Danielle Boote, and we will see you next time here on A Smarter Way Home.